when in your life was it actually more beneficial for you to believe a lie, to convince yourself of something because the truth of the experience was too intense? Hey y'all, it's Chimdi. So I asked you all if there were any questions or topics or things on your spirit that you wanted me to talk about, and y'all came through. This question is from Vonny, who says, "Hey Chimdi girl, your channel has become one of my favorites. Thank you. You have incredible taste. Can you talk about what attraction means as it relates to love and how you can tell you're not convincing yourself to love someone? Also, can you talk about how to know when a love isn't fruitful and for you anymore?" So Vonny, I'm gonna need you to leave that relationship because whatever relationship you in, girl, you gotta get out of there. Get out of there, girl. What if that was the entire video? I was just like, girl, leave. I do stand by that. I thought I need a disclaimer that's like, Chimdi is not a professional, so. But also, I have some notes. I've written some notes. I've got some reflections for you. When it comes to attraction and love, there are a few different ways people talk about attraction. Lately, I've been reading about the polarity, masculine, feminine, and like it's only attracted when it's like healthy or unhealthy, whatever, but like it's only a balance when folks are in their different poles and really embodying healthily their different poles. So if someone, because of trauma, whatever they've been through, is showing up either more masculine or more feminine, then feels good and feels aligned for them, it's gonna affect their relationships because the person will like attract similarly unhealthy or distorted masculine and feminine energies. So that's like one way people think about attraction and love. The way I think about it, and that has really resonated for me, is around when our wounds are doing the attracting versus when our love is doing the attracting. And so my understanding is that because of the stuff that's happened in our life and some of the challenging situations and the things that were too tough for us to deal with when they happen, that is the definition of trauma that I use. It's that it's not just like car crashes and like major bad things. It's whenever you were in a situation where what was going on was overwhelming, it was too much to handle. And so rather than being able to stay present, stay in the moment, stay connected to your body and to your heart in the moment, you had to shut yourself down in some way. And that was safer and more intelligent. That is trauma. And what we do when we heal trauma is we actually allow those feelings that have been frozen for months, years, decades even, to finally be felt so we can free all that energy that has been spent locking that feeling into place. There are all these things that have happened to us that we haven't processed. As a result, we may find that not wanting to experience that thing that was too much is subconsciously driving us. So we're not actually being driven to a person or experience or a job or a place to live because we actually genuinely want it. We're being driven because we don't want to experience this other thing, and we're hoping that by being with this kind of person, for instance, we won't experience this thing over there. But of course, because that motivation is what's driving us, it's actually inevitable that we're going to meet these people and these circumstances again. That's honestly been my biggest motivator for healing trauma, has been, if I don't face it now, I'm gonna face it later. So it's just a matter of, do you wanna do this now when you're in your early 30s, all hot and fly, and so the rest of your life there's more freedom, there's more possibility? Or do you wanna wait 20, 40, 60 years and do it when you're older? Either way is fine. It's up to you. One thing I love about the Timeless Wisdom training that I'm in, it's this 2-year program focused on healing personal, ancestral, and collective trauma, is that a lot of the folks, there's like a huge range in ages. So a lot of the folks are in their 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s. It gets a huge range, and it really is showing me this is the stuff that we all have. And we either deal with it now or we deal with it later, but we deal with it eventually. And it can be that you go 20, 40, 60 years and have stuff that you've never dealt with. And that's normal, in fact. And the people who sign up for that kind of program are the ones who are taking it seriously, right? So imagine how many people are walking around in the world who are like, nope, I'm gonna just have this trauma. My kid's gonna have this trauma. My grandbaby's gonna have this trauma because I'm not dealing with it. And to be clear, healing trauma is a lot, so I get that. Like, truly, no judgment. I've gone back and forth about like, maybe I just give my kids this trauma because this is hard. word. I'm back on the other side. I'm back on the side of I'ma heal it. And one of the most powerful things that I learned about trauma healing is that our body is intelligent. Our systems are intelligent. So if we are operating in a certain way in our life, we can trust that an early version of us was doing the best possible thing it could think of to keep us safe and to keep us protected until we got to this moment when we're grown and we're able to actually process and sit with these really intense things that are happening. So when I read this question about how do I know I'm not convincing myself to love someone, the first thing that came to mind is when in your life was it actually more beneficial for you to believe a lie, to convince yourself of something because the truth of the experience was too intense? That's a pretty big question because it speaks to some really intense experiences you've had that your system said, we cannot handle this. We cannot deal with this. Girl, I'm gonna need you to believe something else, because to actually sit with the truth of what you're seeing and hearing and experiencing would shatter you. It would really cause a lot of damage. And so the wisdom and the intelligence of your body and mind said, shut this down. We'll deal with this when she's grown. And now you are grown and you are making the choice, if you feel resourced, to actually deal with this. So I think that's sort of the big question is, in your life, when was it good for you to ignore the feelings and the truth of how you saw things playing out, especially when we're younger and we really, really need the people who are in charge of us. We really need to believe that they care about us, that they love us, that they are protecting us, that they are keeping us safe, because we are relying on it. Like as a baby, all the way to basically until you can vote. You know, some people start living on their own at like 13, 14, 15, 16, right? It'd be really nice if you could just trust your parents and your caregivers to take care of you and to keep you safe up until you were 21, ready to go and move out or whatever else. But for a lot of us, that just wasn't the reality. But in those really early stages, when we truly, like, we couldn't get a job at 4, you know, we couldn't get a job as a newborn. So we had to trust that even though it didn't make sense to us, and in fact was very confusing and seemed actually in direct opposition of what love seems like, we had to just believe, like, no, I may not understand, but this person loves me, this person cares about me, I can trust this person to keep me safe. And we have to keep telling ourselves that to make it through day by day until we actually are in a position to take care of ourselves. But what happens with that is we have conditioned ourselves to believe what wasn't actually maybe true, right? And so we find ourselves in situations again and again where we're like, this person doesn't seem safe. This person doesn't seem like they love me. This does not seem like an edifying, aligned situation. And yet I am going to stay because it's familiar, it's what I know, and it's what I've taught myself. I've taught myself to ignore what I know to be true and believe the lie instead, because that's what got me through that situation. And I think the fact that you're asking the question means that you are resourced enough to begin to handle and hold some of the harder experiences and situations and intense emotions that the younger version of you couldn't handle. And so she just was being led by that wound into situations that would continuously repeat it. And my understanding is that we truly are meant to heal and expand and grow and be the best versions of ourselves. And so if we've got these things, these shadows inside of us that are keeping us from our full expression and for fully living in the gifts we've been given, we are going to be put in situations again and again. It's just inevitable because it's a part of us that's driving us. The point of these situations is just to mirror and just to show us, by the way, girl, this is where you're at in terms of your development. In case you didn't know, this is where you're at. And so it's not about, oh no, let me change so that I can attract different things. It's let me heal the things that are showing up, because as I heal them, they will automatically dissolve. That's something Thomas Hubel talks about with the training. We are in so many situations that we don't realize are because of trauma, are because of shadows, are because of pain and hurt and things we haven't had the capacity to heal. As we pour love onto ourselves, we give ourselves the resources, we release those energies, we release those bonds, and it will automatically dissolve. If you consider the situation you're in, some part of you is attracted to that. It's healing the part of you that's attracted that will lead to the dissolution and will allow you to never attract that same energy again because it's no longer in your spirit. Just leaving the relationship isn't actually going to change anything because you'll just find yourself in another situation to mirror it to you, because the point, in my understanding, isn't the external world. The point is our inner world. The point is having inner peace, inner love, realizing that we are abundant. We're connected to an infinite grace and infinite love. We don't need anything from the external world. The external world is just mirroring back to us what we already have. So as we live and like, wow, I have so much love. Love is pouring out of me. Love is flowing out of me. It's easy for me to give love. Then you'll live a life where the world is just like, well, here's some more love. Here's some more love, because that's what you already have. And I think some people do go into the world thinking they're gonna find a love out there that they don't already have in here. But unfortunately, what they're gonna find is just the same lack that's in their own heart being mirrored to them back in the world. So they're gonna find themselves in relationships where they're like, I'm not getting the love that I need. I'm not getting the love that I deserve. And that's because no one outside of you can give that to you. And I do think it's important to note that I'm sharing all of this as a single woman. I am not currently in a relationship. I just left a relationship and I made a video about that, but I'm not currently in one. And when I think about my own experience, what I'm realizing is just how many genuinely dangerous situations I put myself in because of the unhealed trauma that I had related to men, related to trust, related to consistency. And so I found myself being attracted to people, and instead of just pausing and really being like, Chimdi, is this, here's a big question. Is this what you want? You know, I had never, until my last I had a couple, I had like 2 different engagements with different people, and both times they asked me that question of like, what do you want, Chimdi? And it was so uncomfortable because I hadn't done the work to actually pause and ask myself that question. So that's huge. It's like, girl, what do you actually want? And the second part was believing that I was one part invincible because I had made it this far despite being in past dangerous situations. So I had this feeling of invincibility, and I had this feeling of it is normal and to be expected that men aren't safe. Like that I shouldn't be able to trust them. So that's standard. It's standard that men are these like unpredictable, dangerous elements. And that's not gonna stop me from getting some dick. So it's not gonna stop me, okay? I healed that trauma though. Or I am healing that trauma. Yeah. I'm healing that trauma, and I have enough awareness now that I can just look at a situation and be like, first off, girl, you know you don't want this, so we can just stop right here. We don't need to proceed any further. And then beyond that, why are we being motivated? Are we being motivated by a lust? Are we being motivated by a lack? Or is there something true and genuine and love-filled here that feels good and doesn't just feel good for a moment, but feels good to my soul and to my spirit? And if that's the case, then I know to move forward. So I think the real question for you is, are you willing to feel the intense feelings that were so overwhelming that it was better for you to freeze them and to tell yourself a lie in order to be in this moment? And if you aren't, that's okay, because you will have many opportunities to eventually feel them. And what I always really recommend to people is to get resourced. For me, it's being in this training program where I've got this great spiritual teacher and I've got hundreds of people internationally who are in the same program. And so literally when I go through a process where I'm like activated by something and I'm crying, I'll call in Jesus Christ, I'll call in Thomas Hubel, I'll call in my friends from the program, I'll surround the younger version of myself who's overwhelmed with all of this love and this support. And with that energetic container, it's strong enough for me to feel all these feelings. Something Thomas Hubel says, and I'll end it on this, he says, trauma happens in relationship, and that's why it needs to be healed in relationship. So it's healed when we're able to connect with another person, co-regulate our nervous systems, and leverage their strength and their capacity and have it pour into us for the places where we don't have it. We can't give ourselves a vitamin we don't have, and it's in finding people and resources and places out in nature, out in online spaces, out in real life spaces, phone calls, therapists, whatever you need, you find the support to feel these feelings, because it's not supposed to be felt alone. It's supposed to be felt in relation. I hope this is helpful to you. Thank you so much for asking the question. I really appreciate it. Thank you to my Patreon people, and I'll see y'all in the next video. Bye.